Far from the picturesque beaches and resorts on the north coast of the island, nearly half of Jamaica's 3 million strong population lives in Kingston. This compact capital city of Jamaica may have a reputation as birthplace of reggae music and the site of violent uprisings through the decades, but it's also the source of an explosion of style coming out of the island. I was born in Jamaica, and though I left this country over 3 decades ago, its culture and values continue to shape and influence my sartorial choices. So when the time came to do the show, there was no question that it would start in Jamaica. Oh, I feel amazing. I'm so excited to head to New Kingston and check out this runway show down the middle of the street on Knutsford Boulevard. This is Jason Campbell in the middle of New Kingston here. It is Style Week 2018 and the show is about to begin. Look at this audience. The place is packed. So last night at Fashion Block in New Kingston, down in the middle of the street, that was really an epic display of Jamaican fashion. One of the most significant impressions that I took away from last night was just those models. They were working they were working so hard. You know, historically, the Eastern Europeans and the Brazilians are known to be the hard workers in fashion, but surely we saw last night and from the previous nights as well that those models really put in the time. They have energy. They put their smiles on. These models are really having a major success right now. It was amazing to hear the stories of these models who are literally being scouted and discovered in small towns, in rural districts here in Jamaica, and are literally being plucked from these places and are turning up on the runways of Milan and Paris and London. What Dwight Peters have done, like nothing that has been done before, and that's what I feel is going on in Jamaica right now surrounding fashion. I feel that it's really feeding a lot of what is represented in fashion, specifically surrounding the new standard of beauty. Historically in fashion, that was never the case. So that was beautiful to see, and I have to say, Jamaica now is exporting the most black models from any other country in the world, and so therefore they're setting that standard. Jamaica is a place where fashion lives. Jamaicans are all about expressing themselves individualistically, infusing color, contraptions. I could have created multiple collections from what I saw those people wearing last night. Things I have never seen before, and I'm a world-class traveler. E! Magazine is on the island to shoot a fashion editorial with some of the models of the moment, and I descended on the back streets of Kingston to check it out. Well, Naki is one of the premier models right now working out of Jamaica, and in fact, we're in the back alleys shooting. You're shooting a fashion editorial for V! Magazine. Yes. And I have to note that is an all-Caribbean crew, which is amazing. I love some of these advancements that's taking place. But Naki, Is this completely surreal for you to be sitting in the country, this small country that you're from, here in this back alley shooting an editorial for one of the most noted magazines on the planet?
It's just all still getting used to right now.
I see your image in so many places. How many runway shows did you do this past season?
I haven't checked really, but it's like more than 20.
So you said you were scouted. Did Dwight scout you? He came to your school?
Yeah, I came to my school and like a teacher of mine, she encouraged me to go and see him. When I walked into the room, Dwight was like, wow, we can stop the search now. I found a superstar.
Oh, really?
And I was just standing there like, okay.
You're like, okay, well, if you say so.
So I flew to London and did my first season starting with Burberry Exclusive. Then I flew to Milan and did Prada. And Paris I did Celine and Givenchy, and that was pretty much my first season.
Those are the top shelf brands in this business, and for you to have that kind of start is really tremendous. This beautiful woman finding this amazing success in the business of fashion, and here she's getting an accounting degree and has aspirations in those areas as well. That's really tremendous. I am here with Janine Height atop the Digicel building in downtown Kingston, and we're here for the Style Week Jamaica, and you felt compelled to come down here this weekend to support this and for other efforts. So tell me what you think about this Style Week Jamaica and its impact that it currently has.
Dwight has done an amazing job like getting models together to send out to the international market, and also he has given designers a platform on which to display their merchandise and their skill.
And I mean, I think that the strides that he has taken all of these years, as you say, totally impacting the current beauty standard. That's quite a feat. And it's happening here.
There is this huge move towards, and we discussed this the other night, this Afrocentric look. There's like a lot of afros, or like a little buzz cut on the girls. I mean, even the boys are wearing their hair out. Everyone, I think, is paying attention to Jamaican models. Before, there was just one person who did well, and you wouldn't see like a bunch of Jamaican models on the international scene, or a few girls would do well and then you wouldn't hear from them again. Now, there was one designer this week, last night on the show, she used to be a Saint International model, and now she's like transitioned that into becoming a designer. So there's a lot of things that are happening with these girls. They're not just stopping at being a model, and Dwight is really grooming them, I think, to become better citizens in society as a whole.
I don't know if it's premature to talk about some things that you're working on, but you also have some newfangled interest in fashion and business down here.
Yes. I'm really interested in finding designers who have something special and being a mentor to them, helping them to really expand on their collection, guide them and let them understand what a client would need, and so bridge that gap because actually wants.
After seeing some of the seasoned collections that showed on the runways, I decided to go to the workspace of one of the young, buzzy designers who's poised to make a mark in Jamaican fashion. I am here with Anique Walters in her workroom in Kingston, and I wanted to go behind the scenes of how a young designer creates her work in a place like Kingston. Give me a little background on you, Anique.
Well, my name is Anique Walters. I'm originally from Negril, Westmoreland. I started fashion about 5 years ago.
Okay. Now, I see that you have quite a strong sensibility. As Jamaicans, I know we're very expressive people, but where have all of these inspirations from? All the strong designs. I mean, look at this.
So I am into sustainable fashion. So what I do is repurpose. So instead of throwing away surplus fabric, I use them to create fabulous avant-garde pieces.
I think this is major, but you know what, Anik, you captured my attention with sustainability. We live in this age now that we all have to be very conscious consumers, and we cannot keep making new products all the time.
Being innovative makes you more creative.
Well,
Yeah.
you're certainly leveling all kinds of creativity here, but like, I gotta tell you, I have this jacket on.
Yes.
I am feeling very, very cute. Look how, I mean, this is really, really well executed. I love the three-dimensionality on the back. Who registers on your radar?
I really like Iris Van Herpen.
Oh, okay.
Yes, her work is
Okay, wait a minute.
very, very interesting. And the thing is that she used a lot of technology to create her pieces. That is
Yes.
what we're really lacking here in Jamaica.
Uh-huh.
Yes, so it's innovation now. So you gotta use the fabric. This was my tribute piece. A piece of the fabric in this one, red and blue one, is actually of my friend that passed away. So this was in tribute of her.
That is major, and it feels soulful.
Yes,
it doesn't
it is.
feel like factory made without consideration.
And without love.
And without love. Okay, now Anik, this is feeling like the pièce de résistance. We have tulle all over the place, like pom-poms bouncing off of this, this 3/4 length coat. We have meshing. This is quite a creation. And you said that you designed for those rock stars. Well, this is definitely rock star wear. J'adore. We are here with Kirk Pickersgill. He is one half of the Canadian design duo, Greta Constantine. And we are here in Kingston. This is your second time showing in Jamaica. You're given this marquee platform to show your collection. Why are you showing in Kingston, Jamaica?
Why Kingston, Jamaica? It's the place where I was born. It's my mother country. It's where my family is from. My family still remains here. There's some in Canada, there's some here. And when we were asked to do it, both Stephen and I are Jamaicans, so we just thought, we couldn't say no. It was a time to come back and not only visit our family, but to have our staff come and join us and learn more about where we come from.
There has to be more. You wouldn't put your clothing on a stage where it's not worthy. Do you think the Jamaican stage is really worthy of the level of designs that you're putting out there into the world?
Every city, every country is different, and here's a different way of doing things than we would do in Canada or in Paris or Milan or any of the big places that do the big international shows. What fascinates me and fascinates both Stephen and I are the level of models coming out of Jamaica at this moment. It's the whole Jamaican model takeover. This reminds us back in the day when with Halston, with his group of women, and when we're in Paris and New York, and we're always amongst each other. And regardless if we're working or not working, we have this connection with each other. And then when they come here and everybody's back in Jamaica in their own platform, it's a more relaxed and it's a wonderful setting.
Why do you think that Jamaican models are having a particular moment right now?
I think they're having this particular moment because, I would have to give a lot of credit to Dwight Peters.
Okay.
It's his own world. And he creates this world where he makes sure these girls, when they go on the castings and they get the jobs, and if they don't get the jobs, they're not disappointed. They just know that, it's not their time, or next time they'll get the job. And it's just the grooming. He's taking away what people feel what a black woman should look like. She needs to have that straight hair. She needs to be blonde. And he's stripping it all down to being the beautiful women that they are, the natural women that they are. And it's so wonderful. We questioned in the beginning. It's like, why are all these girls with natural hair? It's like, but I get it. He's stripping it down because that's who they are. It's the true beauty of them all. If you see, they don't even need to wear makeup. Well, I think Dwight Peters is an influencer. And I think that's a great word to describe him. It's funny, people think of him as just trying to promote the models, but no, he's promoting the whole fashion industry.
Kirk, thank you so much for your insights on this experience. We are at Red Hills Lookout, high above Kingston, and we're going to speak to Dwight Peters this morning. And Dwight is the de facto face of fashion here in Jamaica. Dwight, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to have you in Jamaica.
Well, I'm always glad to be back as a Jamaican. You know, this country is very close to my heart. How old is the agency?
We are 18 years old, started in 2000. And the mission of Saint was always, as we use as our tagline, changing lives and expanding horizons. For me, it was always about the idea that Black beauty, the aesthetic that Black beauty can, develop and represent is pretty strong. In discovering, developing, and promoting Jamaican talent internationally, that was always the background of the idea. So it's good to see 18 years later that the appreciation, the acknowledgement, and certainly the legacy that is now being created is as powerful as it is.
We have to talk about the moment that is happening. It may not be a perfect storm, but it is a storm of some kind wherein Jamaican models are really on the world stage in a very significant way. In fact, several of them are.
It's over 20 Jamaican models that we represent working internationally at the same time. And we've never seen this before. In fact, one of the most poignant moments for me was having 8 of my models walking for the Balenciaga runway in Paris on March 4th.
Well, tell me how this came about. Did you book this directly from Jamaica, sending these kids to the runways of Paris?
Well, let me tell you, over the last couple of years, we have been, I would say, doing significantly well in terms of booking directly. The new casting directors, so to speak, are really global in their outlook. So they reach out. Once they figure that there's an agency that they can get great talent from, these casting directors are going directly to them. So, for example, we had Janice Roper, who I booked it from Jamaica directly for the Saint Laurent global campaign. That was her very first job.
Wow.
And then she was booked for the world exclusive later on for their runway show. Now, in terms of the Balenciaga story, it's very special in many ways, and sometimes I believe it's divinely designed. Out of the blue, I just checked my email, and there was an email from Lotta Volkova, the stylist, saying, "I'm Lotta, I'm the stylist, I'm the casting director for Balenciaga, and we're looking for new faces." I made a proposal of 5. They selected 2. Fast forward to the following season, we had another call that, look, we're now casting for the shows this season and we'd love to see who the proposals are. I submitted several, and then from that batch, they selected 4. So those are 4 I booked directly from Jamaica. Wow. And I remember when all the confirmations came in and I actually started checking because I heard, every girl getting the confirmations, and then we were at 8, and I'm like, this is absolutely incredible. The story of Saint is particularly significant when it comes to changing these young people's lives. Many of them are from extraordinarily humble backgrounds, very poor backgrounds. And so when a young girl or boy who has never traveled before, some who never had a passport before, are now, in possession of a passport and visa and traveling to do Balenciaga, that is what the story really is about.
We've certainly seen the slew of Brazilian models who had their moment, and now is the Jamaican moment. What's different about Jamaica is that Jamaica is this tiny country, this little principality that is exporting so much, particularly with where the models are concerned now. So you would agree that this does feel like a Jamaican moment.
It is a Jamaican moment. It is a Jamaican moment, and you can look at it from different perspectives. Whether it's from the perspective of a casting director who's going to say, look, we are looking for diversity, which is the big topic these days, and we respect that, we appreciate it, we believe it's the time. But more importantly, I think when I did the checks on the Balenciaga show, by numbers, I think we probably had 40% of the Black models on the show were all Jamaican models, which is pretty significant.
Which is significant considering there's a whole continent of Africa.
There you go.
Mostly Black countries, and it's not represented to the full extent.
And it's even more important to highlight a scenario where we had Forbes magazine that was here last year for Style Week, and when they started doing their research, they discovered that since 2000, Saint International is the world's biggest exporter of Black models as a single agency. For me, I believe the models on a whole, should be authentic with their beauty. It's something they should be proud of, because I believe what has been happening over the years, from my own psychological assessment and objective observation, is that sometimes the girls try to pretend. So they put in a weave and then they start, throwing the weave all over, and it becomes almost like their identity or an identity they're trying to buy into. And so for me, sometimes they're not even comfortable with it, because they're not accustomed to wearing a weave, so they have, issues with maintaining it. So to my mind, the authenticity of your beauty is quite a strong psychological base for your success. It's not just about authentic beauty, it's about the responsibility of you as a model who will have the world stage as your platform, understanding that that responsibility is real to the people that you represent. So, I don't mean for it to be deep, but that is really what it's about. That is something that forms my psyche. That is how I train my models. I say you will go into a room, you'll see 500 people, you may see 50 people. Be confident in who you are, no matter where you're from. Where you're from doesn't define you. Understand that you have a role in the world and you have been given this platform to express yourself and to elevate yourself. But that platform, when you get on it, understand you have a responsibility to represent the true you. One thing I know for sure, state models are always confident. They are always confident.
They certainly look so on those runways. Those girls, you would never know. I mean, their lives look perfect.
Yes, and that is how we're very intense on training. We engage the families. But one of the things, talk to many of these kids. One of them said to me the other day, sometimes they call me Pops, and they said, one said, no one knew I existed until I got this opportunity.
Wow. Well, I have to say, this paternalistic component of the role that you play is, I'm sure, significant to how these models engage with the world and engage in this industry.
It is more than significant, to the point where it can become emotional, because many of these young models, they didn't have father figures. So many of them don't know their fathers. It's so for me, in the capacity I operate, I understand my responsibility very clearly. I remember one model, I was the only person at his graduation. The only person. The mom couldn't make it at the time, the father wasn't around, and when he saw me enter and sat, in the rows among the other parents, he smiled. He was so much more alive that, yes, Pops is here, and I'm going to get this thing done.
I was very impressed by, as I said, the different arenas that you reach. This was a concerted effort. How did all the elements come together in terms of arenas that you touch?
The product that we're offering, as in Style with Jamaica, is multidimensional. It creates the creative platform for our talented designers to execute their vision for seasons to come and to establish the trends that they perceive to be, sellable at such time. But it also represents a unique perspective on our Jamaican culture. The Ministry of Finance or the Ministry of Economic Development and Growth, they definitely will have some interest, even just from an observation standpoint initially, to see how best can we surround this industry with the right kind of support mechanisms to allow it to grow.
It certainly would be remiss if I did not include this spate of successful male models as well that has been a part of your current success
Brad
story.
Allen, the face of Paula Ralph Lauren, straight from Jamaica, straight on the runways. That is, to me, speaking about the balance that we have in terms of promoting high caliber male models.
I'm in the middle of downtown Kingston, expressing myself, but also testing the limits of what is considered acceptable dressing in a country with a checkered reputation on LGBTQ issues.
I'm the Associate Director of Programs and Advocacy at JFLAG.
Okay.
It means I'm responsible for all the things that we say publicly to ensure that we're meeting the needs of the community and addressing the larger issues that the community faces. And we do a lot of work around healthcare and trying to ensure that public health spaces are inclusive, to kind of just diversify the image of the LGBT community out there. So, Clovis is popular for drawing gay men and trans women as very muscular but effeminate men, an artist for the Jamaica Observer. So if he's going to draw gays or trans women, muscular male bodies in heels, stuffed in heels, as a singular image, and their faces are usually bleached, and he presents a singular image of Jamaicans. And then the other image that persons are aware of are the quote-unquote gully queen, recognizing that there are members of our community that do look that way, but there are also members of our community that don't look that way, and there's no one way to be an LGBT Jamaican.
What is the most important initiative for J-Flag and for you?
We have a good hold in the health sector, we have a good hold in the youth sector, and we want to make those spaces safe spaces. And so a lot of our work is through visibility campaigns, through engaging healthcare workers and youth leaders on a one-on-one level, but also in the formal structures of different sensitizations and trainings that we do to get them to understand who LGBT people are. Within the larger national development scale, we talk a lot about the bigger issues and how we try to make those issues LGBT inclusive. We're having that conversation there about making sure laws equally protect all Jamaicans, and within that conversation talking about removing laws which criminalize same-sex intimacy.
Who are your allies? Who are the soldiers outside of the institution that you work in?
We have a lot of support from our civil society partners.
I have to say, I'm feeling some changes happening. I feel it's not necessarily tangible to me, but I feel like it's in the ether.
Like there's been ongoing conversation and willingness to have the conversation, specifically within the media. I was on Beyond the Headlines, which is a popular program for discussion of national issues, talking about the day, talking about the gay agenda with someone from the church community who was willing and open to say, you know, we can discuss some portions of the gay agenda.
Well, I have to say, you mentioned the gay agenda. I just wanted to make sure that I clarify that, because in many ways, you know, that term, people may think that's your agenda to convert.
Which is exactly why we did it.
To reclaim
that word. Right. Every time any conversation we were a part of came up, the gay agenda, it's a gay agenda, was used to kind of shut it down.
Right.
And so for us, instead of using it to shut down the conversation, we were going to use it to start a conversation.
Right.
And take back that power from persons who would use it to silence us. I mean, we do have plans and we do want Jamaica to improve. And if calling it a gay agenda will get us that platform, we will, to show you that we're not being sinister. We are Jamaicans and we want a society that includes us.
Gays and fashion go hand in hand, but in a country with a reputation for a vicious brand of homophobia, it's by no means one love when it comes to gays in Jamaica. We're here in Kingston and I'm with these three gorgeous ladies. How do you define yourself?
I identify myself as a female.
So you're a transgender woman?
Yes.
Okay. And you, Najee?
For me.
A transgender woman?
Yep.
And you, Queenie?
Well, it's kind of funny for me because I work.
Okay.
So I'm kind of out there in the field. So
okay.
For me personally, during the daytime, I'm like a boy.
Yes.
But like, you know, really and truly, I really see myself as a female.
Okay.
Because that's really when I'm actually being myself. Right? So when I'm at work, I'm like in somebody's body. Basically.
Right. You're putting on a mask. This is not a mask. This is your true self.
This is me.
Ladies, when people from outside of Jamaica, when they see an image, us sitting around, you ladies being your authentic selves, I think there will be some shock. I didn't know that you could actually exist like this in Jamaica. Tell me, are you able to go on into the streets on a daily, live a full life?
Well, if you're going to go out there dressing like this in the day, it's best that you have a car, because Jamaica is a homophobic place. We're still rubbing it in their faces, but we don't want to rub it too much.
Your strategy is that you do dress regularly as yourself, but you're very careful about how
where we go.
Where you go.
I know myself. I'm not really afraid. I don't feel myself unfair.
Okay.
I'm willing to do anything, but in the day, I'm Lamoy, and in the night, I'm Najee. I go nowhere without Queenie or a cap. I look like a female, but if I have on boy clothes, I'm still a female. And if I have on woman clothes, that makes it work. Every day I'm going to work, I pass the workers on some houses.
Right.
And they're like, baby, you know, say me fear fuck you. I can't believe you're really turn lesbian. That's what I go through every day.
You, Queenie, what has been your experience on a day-to-day like this?
Well, I'm a bit more experienced than my sisters. My sister and my niece. Excuse me, sorry. Thank you.
Right.
But it started off a bit shaky for me because I actually changing jobs everywhere I go. You know, the minute somebody finds out that, you know, you're gay, you know, I have to be moving from workplace to workplace, and after a while it becomes really stressing and annoying because it's not that I'm pushing things in their faces. Right. You know, I'm just being who I am, and because of that, it has tailored me, you know, to become who I am today. I tend to portray this boy figure, and this boy attitude, and what annoys me is that person thinks that I'm a bore because I don't really talk. The queenie side now comes out at night. I feel very comfortable. I feel very empowered when I'm dressed like this. I feel like I can conquer the world when I'm queenie. So, this for me is a way of releasing the stress after work and, just let it all go.
Is everyone's desire is to leave?
Yes, ultimately, yes.
It's not going to get any better.
It's not going to me. Even
It's not getting better in your estimation.
No, it's not. We still cannot go there and do stuff like
Trust
a
me,
normal
this
person.
cannot legalize in Jamaica. It's only going to make it even worse.
I was attacked and stopped because I was gay. And it's not like I was doing anything out of the ordinary. I was just driving my car because I was in the car singing and going on in my antics. I mean, this is my own space. And I went to the police station to make a report. And they started to make their slurs about Batman and all of that. I just lied about the entire incident just to avoid the whole encounter. The female officer, she said, "Can I speak to you 1 minute?" And she called me outside and she said, "I want to ask you a question. Don't be afraid to answer me. Are you gay?" Or this is a story that you're telling me true. And I looked at her and at one point I was going to say, I lied. But when I look back at it again and I said that with all that I see going on inside, I said no.
From what has been expressed from the people that I've been speaking to, lower socioeconomic people are the ones that really have it quite rough. Like if you are of means that you can protect yourself. Please, you're not trying to just stay in a place just to stay in it when your life is being oppressed. Absolutely not. So we're here with Rashika Ferragamo.
Hi, everyone.
Would you identify yourself as a gay person?
No, I'm a trans woman.
You're a trans woman. Okay, as a trans woman here in Jamaica.
In house where I've been kicked out because allegation, none of these stories are true. I've been kicked out because things was getting wrong with some of my friends that I was living with. Yes, I'm living in a hotel at this particular point, but at the same particular point, I'm still getting my independence.
Amazing.
I'm still getting my independence, and I don't know. I don't know if all this stuff happened in America, but in Jamaica, I can speak for myself. So there's certain things that they ask you to do, which you don't want to do. And the first thing they're gonna say, you have to do it.
So there becomes scenarios where someone attempts to take advantage of you and those kind of situations. And are we talking about a sexual favor usually, primarily?
Sometimes and sometimes not.
So you are one of 14 boys. Are you the only
girl?
Huh?
I'm the only girl.
You're the only. You're the only girl in the family. Girl. And so, as a whole, how much of the family has embraced your authentic self?
Yes, I had one brother like. When there's no friend around, we are so much of a best friend. But the very moment his friend around,
it annoy you.
If I'm still alive by then, one day I know Jamaica will have a day for themselves. I have the whole mug will not change and everything where they can just spread their wings. And if I'm in Spain, if I'm in Tokyo, Japan, anywhere in the world, and hear that, hey, listen, gay have legalized in Jamaica, honey. I'm going to be on the first flight home to help these girls celebrate. Not saying that I'm coming back to Jamaica to live.
But you'll come back and help you celebrate with your people.
Yes, this is what I've been waiting for. I've been waiting my whole life for this. I'll be here.
That's phenomenal.
Yes.
And I'll be right there with you celebrating. I'm here on the premises of J-Flag, and J-Flag is a LGBTQ concern. And I'm here to interview Javon Nelson, who is going to break down the issues surrounding LGBT here in Jamaica.
Okay, well, thank you for coming and visiting us and talking to us.
Well, I have to say, though, I am Jamaican, so I am coming home.
Absolutely.
So, so it's always great to come home, and I'm also gay.
Yeah, well, welcome home. We always think it's most important that our Jamaican LGBT people in the diaspora return home and talk talk to us and get a part of the work that we're doing. So I'm Javion. I'm the Executive Director for JFLAG, and we are a human rights and social justice organization. We work for the livelihood and well-being of the LGBT community here in Jamaica, and to ensure that their rights are respected, promoted, and protected, free from discrimination. So some of the key things really are ensuring that there's no violence, there's no discrimination, and if there are, that LGBT people can access their rights, and they can access services to secure justice when their rights have been infringed.
How is it different here working on the issues that you're working on than it is, say, in New York, where I mostly live, or in Paris or in Berlin?
You always have to be concerned about safety and security for yourself, for those you are interacting with, those who are your clients who are coming to the office, etc. So you always have to be mindful of the difficulties to establish partnerships with people. So you have to recognize that there are also laws in place which people use to justify their homophobia, their discrimination, their differential treatment, or Jamaicans are not ready for this kind of conversation, etc.
Outside of Jamaica, at least in some corridors, it is considered to be the most homophobic country in the Western Hemisphere. Does it deserve that titling?
I always fear that question.
I had to ask it. I mean, because that is the headline in some instances out there.
Yeah, so I think as a people, we are rights conscious. We talk about fair treatment all the time for people regardless of distinction. However, where the LGBT community is concerned, there are challenges because you do not necessarily have that national consensus that you would love to have for LGBT issues. But what we have seen over the years is that increasingly more and more Jamaicans are actually saying LGBT people have rights. In 2012, for example, when we did a national study with over 1,000 people, a national representative sample, we found that about 1/3 of the population do not believe the government is doing enough. And I feel that LGBT Jamaicans are so bold, so resilient, so courageous. I like to talk about how our fortitude is so contagious because you give someone a shirt, for example, with the big J flag or rainbow in the back and a message on the front, and they wear that every day. And
I don't know about those individuals who are living out loud and living, their true self.
Some things are still so very difficult, and I think partly too because we have not necessarily been working on a broad range of issues. So for trans people, there's still a lot of challenges that people who are of trans experience go through, unfortunately. And where workplace issues are concerned, we see increasingly there are some companies that are seemingly quite okay with having LGBT people who are open and out and bold, etc. But then you hear stories of others where that's not necessarily the case, and you might hear of a person who was unable to get a promotion because they are perceived or known to be a part of the LGBT community.
So changes are happening. There is some hope.
Despite the fact that there are still so many challenges for the community, for the vast majority of people, there's so much progress. And it's difficult because we do not necessarily have a very nuanced conceptualization of what progress is. And when I talk about progress, I like to look at our Pride celebrations. We have Pride every year since 2015. So we're going to have our 4th one this year. And the events have grown tremendously since the first one. We have in total perhaps 5,000 or more people last year.
Wow.
To be Jamaican is to be proud. And while that national pride does not currently extend to include the LGBTQ community, there are a brave few who are working hard to change that. The progress of having a gay pride could not have been imagined a decade ago. And as this tiny country continues to shake up the world stage with beautiful models and directional style, we can only hope that it'll bring more attention to the plight of the LGBTQ community on the island.